2023 is going to end in a complete cash grab by Wizards of the Coast. They have learned from past mistakes in 2022 and in 2021, and they are coming fully loaded, prepared for the end of the year. In today's video, we are going to discuss the plan that Wizards of the Coast has obviously put in place for the players and the traps that are set and ready to go the players shouldn't fall for. The best laid traps are the ones you don't see. You don't know until you're already caught. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on my channel today. Before we get today's video started, we are only 1,019 subscribers away from the 20K party. That means at 19,000 subscribers, so 90 more subs, and I will be putting out a video that will be on my main YouTube page that will explain all the rules of the 20K party, which everyone's invited to, and gives you guys time to prepare for what's about to happen, to let you guys know, to plan. It'll all be explained in the video. I can't wait to share it with you guys. Now, let's get down to some dirty business here. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now in Magic that I think needs a little bit of a conversation. Wizards of the Coast is definitely learning from past mistakes and how they lay out their product lines and what their expectations are for the products. Now, what I mean by that is they've seen the successive failures of Q4 products in the last number of years. Things like Double Feature and things, Crimson Vow, Midnight Hunt, they didn't end the year well. And they've realized that with wallet fatigue that sets into the players around that time of year, just because there's so many products speeding along that Foresight and them have all put together. The fact we know, and they admitted, that there's an economic team that tells them which cards to reprint, which means they're definitely looking at the secondary market, and the fact that I now know that for sure because they said it in that Vegas Con thing, I'm going to bring that up forever. It's never going to die now. They have an economy team. They have an economy team, and that team is following things and letting them know which cards to reprint. Keep that burned into your brain because it leads into what's happening here at the end of the year. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now with the way they've been putting these foils together. If you've noticed, they've been leaving and leaning into, leaving the past kind of foil system, but leaning into anime foils. I want to share some stuff here that you guys need to be aware of here. This is Ristic Study, anime borderless confetti foil, Wilds of Eldraine. Look at the price tag. $581.41 is the foil price. Okay, that's US. And you can see it's climbing in price. Now, this is unusual, of course, for a card like this to be that valuable with the amount of reprints it's gotten. But take a closer look at the card. Looks pretty awesome, right? You're like, wow, look at it's beautiful. It looks amazing. It's like a merfolk person sitting down there. I get it. Pretty crazy stuff. And there is a certain segment that really loves this style of artwork, this idea. We saw it again with Wandering Emperor and stuff when they did that kind of anime foil. And that's what I'm getting into here. They've learned to tap into that market and access those players, knowing they almost can't help themselves but buy these cards. Now, I checked around locally, and as you can see, Wilds of Eldraine Ristic Study is sold out, and it was 450 before it sold out. So they sold the couple of copies they had and moved on. They haven't got any more in, but it gets worse than that. Let me share some more with you here. Here you can see out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. Now these ones are the Lord of the Ring kind of surge foil ones, but the fact they're out of stock everywhere, the one that has that party tree, but and of course the last one there, which is Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, because so many reprintings, but even that's a couple $100. And look at the prices things were selling out for. If you keep going along and check your local stores, look how many of these things actually got sold, bought by players, and are being held. There's a certain prestige that comes to cards like this, the new, everyone chases the FOMO, and this is the new. When you see the new like this, then players can't help themselves and they want to buy it, either because of the IP, the license, whatever has attracted them has got them going. And here's even more images of cards being sold out, just not available. Think about all these cards that have sold, and I know this stores, and I know they had them in stock at some point, and this is where you're at. Look at the price tags. When you compare this against anything reserve list and all these players who say they can't afford cards and stuff, and the fact these could be reprinted blows my mind and lets you know how far players are willing to go to flex. That kind of cash grab by Wizards of the Coast and understanding the market better than we know the market ourselves scares me a little bit to understand that they can do this numerous times by adding little tweaks and turns, and players will buy into it. You saw that, right? Those Surge foils from Lord of the Rings, all the confetti foils, and not to mention things even from Kamigawa and Neon Dynasty, the Wandering Emperor, like all those kinds of anime ones. They've all sold really well and they still sell. That's the whole point. They're still selling now. If players have a certain appreciation for artwork, a certain look, a certain image that draws them in, they don't care the price tag. They're going to buy it. That's what Wizards has learned from this. That this is okay to spend $500 on a card that can get reprinted because that artwork, it just calls to you. And you got to have it just like a painting in your house. That is an avenue that I hadn't thought much of until I started noticing the sales. I saw some people talking about it and sent me a couple of emails asking questions. So I finally got around to looking into it, checking the sales records with numerous stores, and these things are selling. Now, I'm not a big foil buyer, but even the regular versions, like, they're all selling. So it doesn't matter if you like foils or don't like it. If that's the style of anime artwork you like, people are buying it. If you like Surge foils, you like Lord of the Rings kind of specialty cards like that, then you're buying them. It doesn't matter. You want them. Now, from the store's point of view, now this is a little bit off topic, but the store's point of view is if it comes in and they can get it for a good low trade-in value or trade for cards they need to get off the shelves anyway, they're happy to take those Surge foils, those kind of rare versions of the cards, but they're not going to pay full price. They're not going to put a lot of cash into it because it could be sitting on the shelves, and stores are still really cautious and nervous about moving these types of products. It's only when they do a box opening and get them that they're happy they can sell them right away. Be aware that this kind of attention that these cards are getting is really, Wizards of the Coast is well aware of it by this point. They know, and they can watch the secondary market with the economy team to see which cards are moving and selling, which ones are popular, Surge foil, confetti foil, what type of artwork. They got actuarials on all this stuff, I guarantee it. And they can get a lot more data than I can because they have a lot more people working at it. This is a small little homegrown studio thing we got going here where they've got an actual team of people, which means more than one. Now, that's not everything though. We have more to discuss than this because we have the Lost Caverns of Ixalan coming up. And there's a few cards and a few ideas of things going on that I think also need to be brought to our attention as the set gets closer, okay? So take a look at this. So before I start this section, understand I'm going to butcher this name. I'm going to call him Ogier Axonil. Right? Is that good? Ogier Axonil? Deepest Might. This thing is a 2-red, 2 generic creature in the upcoming Lost Caverns of Ixalan. We saw the spoilers, and I particularly love this artwork. It kind of reminds me of the Suicide Squad with that guy, that flaming god guy. And this guy is a legendary creature god with trample, and he's a 4/4 for 4. Okay, he doesn't have haste, thank goodness, but look at what this card actually does. It says, if a red source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than Ogier Axonil power to an opponent, that source deals damage equal to Ogier Axonil's power instead. So you do 2 points, now you're taking 4. You do 1 point, now you're taking 4. So he's going to deal a lot of damage very quickly, but it gets worse than that. When Ogier Axonil dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its owner's control. So then you look over there and it becomes the Temple of Power. Not Power Rangers, that's coming later, but the Temple of Power. It's a land, it taps for red. But then it also says for 1 red, 2 other, transform the Temple of Power. Activate only if a red source you controlled dealt 4 or more non-combat damage this turn, and only as a sorcery. So you can bring this guy back. He gives you mana for a while, but you can bring him back. Think of all the creatures that let you fling creatures at opponents. So you could take this guy. You could do a little bit of damage, or you could fling him at an opponent and kill your guy, flip him over, and then keep recycling him and bringing him back. There's all kinds of combinations with some of the giants we've seen that can do things like from Kaldheim and stuff, Calamity Bringer and stuff. There's a lot of giants out there that would love a card like this to manipulate inside of a giant tribal deck that has a lot of mono red stuff in it. This guy is going to see play. I don't know how expensive he's going to be. I don't know how hard they're going to make him come out, but he's a card people should take note of because of the multiple facets of information and power he brings to the battlefield. I can get mana if I need mana. I can transform him later to escape, or I can do a board wipe and it doesn't even kill my own guy. It just turns him into a land. Like, imagine doing things like this. Or hey, you can bring the land out, summon a second, Ogier Axonil, because, you know, they're different. One's a land, and one's, you know, the creature god. And you can start transferring them back and forth as they get flung and killed. And one transforms, one comes back. One transforms, one comes back. I think there's all kinds of crazy combinations that are going to happen with this card, and that's why I think players need to be aware of it. If you get one, I hope you have some fun with it. Like, I'm hoping I actually crack this guy in a pack, and that's unusual. Now, the next card I want to bring up. This thing looks disgusting to me. The Skull Spore Nexus. Now, I'm sure he's been discussed on other YouTube channels that have a lot more in-depth knowledge and information. But I look at this card. It reminds me, okay, it does remind me of the Great Henge, absolutely. Because it says 2 green and 6. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Well, that's not very hard to pump up a creature even temporarily, like giant growths and stuff, to make a creature look bigger temporarily, and then cast this thing out. And it says, whenever one or more non-token creatures you control die, create a green fungus dinosaur creature token with base power and toughness equal to the total power of those creatures. OMG. And then pay 2 and tap it, and you can double target creature's power until end of turn. So think about it with the card I just showed you, the red god guy, or doubling over any red creatures, a red-green deck. The stuff we are going to see when this hits standard is going to be crazy for players to play with. And the funny thing is, okay, if I saw this in my, let's just say a pre-release, I wouldn't think much of it because it's going to be too hard to function in a pre-release. But in an actual standard deck, building with the cards we have available, I can think of numerous uses for a card like this that lets you get bigger and badder things out. So keeping a card like this and noticing what it can do and how it can be played later and how easily it can be gotten out, even with like tokens and things that can sacrifice for mana. And of course, it's going to see commander play, I believe, as well. Now, the next card here, all right, Galta, the Stampede Tyrant. Now, this thing's a 12/12. It has trample, that's great. No haste, no first strike, nothing like that. Although, look at the size of it, you think it would. It is only 8 to get out. 3 green, 5 other. And it says, when Galta the Stampede Tyrant enters the battlefield, put any number of creatures onto the battlefield from your hand. Can you imagine using this mid-game with sneak attack? Can you imagine using this or with something that gives all your guys haste as a finishing move? You lay him out, but you have that other card that gives everything haste on your team, and you just wipe the guy out instantly. That's the kind of stuff this guy's going to cause. Because what it is, it's a mini form of Eureka, which is from the reserve list, which let you put out one person on, you know, the opponent puts out a creature, you put out a creature, you put out a permanent, you put out a permanent, whatever. You go back and forth. But this one just says you, right? You get to put it out, which is insane to me. And then finding a way to link this on by giving creatures haste in some way is not going to be impossible. Now, do you want to put all your guys out and not have a way of making them attack? No, you don't. It wouldn't be that great. He'd be useless because they could have a board wipe in their hand. We know how fond Wizards is of giving massive board wipes, which makes a card like this redundant. You have to have the backup card, which is going to utilize to give you the win. You have to have the thing that's going to give everything haste, or find a way to make it work for you, find a way to get extra turns, something to make it work. But there's lots of workarounds to a card like this, and it doesn't even cost that much to get out. This card is going to be insane. Now, let's talk about this. This is, of course, Mana Crypt, Cavern of Souls. You can see like the neon ink color on the Cavern of Souls. You can see this Mana Crypt, and they did discuss this, guys. They brought this up, and they called these Treasure Trove Box Toppers and Special Guests. And I wanna finish things off with these, okay? It's not just that the Lost Caverns of Ixalan has given us decent cards to play with. Those can all be dealt with and had fun. Wizards just built them a little bit better, put a little more scrutiny and enjoyment into them to let players have some fun with some big bad beastie boys with some great little combination cards that I think are going to play well. I think they'll have further reaching consequences later on, you never know, but right now it looks like it's going to be a well-built set. When they added these box toppers, the treasure troves and special guests, I actually had commented earlier that if they didn't put Mana Crypt inside of Commander Masters, they were going to do it in Modern Horizons 3 as kind of like a staple card, because it's been a little while, you know, since they reprinted it. So adding it to Ixalan instead as a special guest, as a little kind of unique thing to put in there, and they did like 9 different neon ink versions. Yes, like Kamigawa and Neon Dynasty, they've already given us all kinds of neon ink cards, which will probably be at different rarities. They'll be harder to get, but understanding how Wizards plays the trap game. They're in box topper types cards. There's going to be tons of them available of different types. they're not going to make it easy to get these cards. The Cavern of Souls, it'll be hard. It's going to be difficult. That Mana Crypt is not going to be easy because they want to keep the value of those cards at a higher level, and they are trying to trap us into buying boxes. They want you to buy a box for here in Canada, like about 185 Canadian for a standard draft box now, and about 200 if you want to get a set box. And this is the trap. There will be decent cards you can play with. Not sure about the value yet, but those kind of cards are the lure to bring the players in to spend the money hoping to get it. But players know that after these start to get opened, there will be a dip in the market. Understand that. Understanding the trap. There will be a dip on Mana Crypt. There'll be a dip on Cavern of Souls. They can only print these things so many times. That's why they're making them so difficult to get. They will rubber band and rebound from these cross effects of being reprinted, because the reprinting is not in a standard set. It's not going to be found in a regular pack. It is going to be in a special box topper. They know exactly how many they're printing. They know exactly how many are being flooded onto the market because their economic team told them what they could do. It would make perfect sense that they would have the actuarial numbers to understand how the market will reflect on a certain amount entering the market and how far that card is going to dip. For a company that says that they don't follow the secondary market, after I learned about that economic team, more and more of this adds up. And I've spoken to actuarials because I know some. And I could ask them questions, and they said, oh, absolutely. Absolutely, they would know how this is going. Even if it's unofficial, they know exactly what they can put into they've worked out the numbers. So don't think the price drop on this is going to be very much. It will rebound. So when you see the dip of maybe between 5 and 20%, and you're a person who wanted a Mana Crypt, it might be your time to buy before it rebounds back up. Most people I spoke to said it will be a quick rebound of about 30 to 60 days, and then it pops back up. So be aware of that. Cavern of Souls, again, they will make it very difficult. Remember, these are marquee cards. These are cards that players really want to play with, and they want to save some money and get them when they're cheaper. Wizards of the Coast, looks like they're holding these a little bit closer to the chest because they're not putting it in a regular box, right? They're not putting it into a standardized set. They're not putting it anywhere where players can easily get it because you got to buy a box to even have a chance. To even get into the lottery, you got to spend $100 and something bucks. That is kind of crazy to think about, but that's what they're giving us. And then, how do players value those cards? Because if a lot don't get opened, and a lot are just sitting on the store shelf, then the value of these cards is higher than is normal because there was less opened. Understanding the trap, understanding the cash grab that Wizards is offering us, allows players the informational knowledge to decide what decisions to make, to better plan how you're going to spend your money. Because you might want to take the chance and get a box, but when you think about how hard it's going to be, you might just want to go buy the card. That's where we're at, guys. Anyway, I want to know what you guys think, because I will do, some people asked me if I would do, since I do very well in pre-releases, when this set is fully spoiled, I will be putting out a video, because nobody's watching the video right now. This is like really far in. I will put out a thing of cards you should probably pay attention to at a pre-release. Kind of like a pre-deck tech of cards you'll want to be focused in on if you get them, because they will help you win your pre-release. I'm very good at them. I haven't lost in years. I always kind of go and win. So pay attention to that video. It's going to be coming up when the set gets spoiled. I hope you guys enjoy it when it comes out. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Thanks for allowing me to entertain you here on the channel today. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe and help us get closer to that 20K. It's epic to be here every day. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Have an awesome day. Oh, and don't forget, bring a friend to Magic. Hey guys, a big shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons we have supporting our channel each and every day. Because of you guys, uploaded content every single day of the week. Patrons make this happen. YouTube membership members, you guys rock. I look forward to seeing you guys on the live stream this weekend. That's right, I needed to drink water before we started talking. I had a long conversation today on that video. That video was like 20 minutes long. Welcome back, guys. Welcome to the Ramble Jamble. You made it to the end. You made it this far. That's impressive already. Some of my videos are very long, I realize, because I'm having a good time talking with you guys. So, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe ending, where players go, what's going on? Well, I'll tell you something, guys. Some of the stuff that I'm collecting for the 20K party is now starting to bulge out of the one box, and we've now moved into a second box. So it's getting big. That's one thing. The second thing, how would you feel? How would you guys feel? No. I can't give that away. No. You almost got me. You thought I was going to tell you something, but no. I caught myself. Nope. We're cutting things off here. Have an awesome day. If you made it this far in the comments section, you've made it to the end of the video, you put a boomstick so I know you made it. you put the boomstick. Because trust me, some people try to fake it. I know who's doing it. I know what's going on. You almost got me. No. We're in 2 boxes, though. It's getting big.